I have hit the button.
Yeah. So what'd you buy at the store today, Richard?
A banana. One
banana.
One singular.
Was it because you're like, was it an emergency banana? We're like, oh my God, my potassium's so low. I got to hurry up, run in here and buy a banana. And the people at the store are like, are you this it? Just a banana?
No, I would imagine that whoever, like the lady behind the counter, I would imagine that was what they were thinking. They were like, this man really needs a banana. Either he's on a very strict diet of just bananas, or his potassium is cratering. What happens when your potassium gets low? I don't even know. Like, what's the
I think you just like everything, death.
It's like everything just fails.
Yeah. Oh, my potassium! Thunk.
And dead. You're just stricken, stone dead.
You're like, hurry, I need this banana, ring it up. And they're like, it's 25 cents. Do you have a quarter? You had a quarter, right? Or at least $1, or you paid in cash.
Shawn, this banana was 25 cents. Ask me if I had 25 cents on my person.
Did you have 25 cents on your person?
No, it was a rhetorical question. I did not have 25 cents on my person. I had to use my debit card.
Oh, Richard, ask me how much cash I have in my wallet at all times.
You want to announce that live on the internet?
Yeah, I will. How much do you think I have in my wallet at all times? Cash money, dollar bills.
$1.
$0 because nobody carries cash anymore. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of hate that too. Like, I don't feel. Like, it makes everything feel even more fake. Because when you hand over, like, a physical dollar, like, I feel like this is probably what, like, my grandpa felt like when we came off the gold standard. He's like, this isn't real.
Yeah, it's all made. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, doesn't it just feel like it all just feels made up at this point? I mean, it is, like, it's not like money isn't real.
It's not backed by anything. It's like, let's just give it to everybody. And then, like, you have to wheelbarrow all of it to buy a loaf of bread. Like, it'll be $10 million gajillion dollars. Well, actually, we wouldn't have to worry about that. It'd be all digital. This bread is $10 bajillion dollars. Okay, whatever.
I've got 85 grazillion, so it's okay because it's all fucking made up, Shawn. It's all made up. We could just we should just like go to like Monopoly money because like what the fuck does it matter anymore?
I mean, at this point, you probably could, and like the cashier's like, is this a fucking 20? Sure, okay.
I don't know. I've never seen one out in the wild. Is this what they look like?
Yeah. There's a lot of stores that have been like running low on cash because I guess there's been a little bit of a push with cash lately for some reason, but I mean, still, it's like nobody uses it. Like, even like now when I get paid, like it's not in actual physical dollars. It's all just like digitally moved.
You know what I think? I think that is a boon for counterfeiting because since nobody really like messes with actual cash anymore, then when you get cash, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, because you forget.
Well, no, because they got all those pins. Like today, if you would have handed that lady $1, she would have got that fancy pin and scratched it and been like, this isn't a real dollar. You're like, I got it from a bank. Like, sorry. We're going to have to call the police because you're trying to steal this banana.
No, they wouldn't call the police. You know what they call? They call Secret Service, Shawn.
Ooh, yeah, the feds would come in.
They call the Secret Service. That's the only thing. That's the only other thing that the Secret Service does. The Secret Service obviously like protects the president, but the one job, like the one like area that they pursue is counterfeiting.
I don't think that's true because we had somebody counterfeit. Oh, it says, yeah, right here. U.S. Secret Service has a long and storied history
of the Treasury Department. They're agents of the Treasury Department. So that's why that's why they, handle counterfeiting cases.
Interesting. Because I thought like there was a time in my school because we had like a little cafeteria and some kids thought it'd be funny to print out fake dollars and buy stuff there. And I thought the FBI came, not the Secret Service.
Secret Service.
Maybe they just said FBI. because they show up and people don't know that. It's like, we're the Secret Service. It's like, the president's here? Like, no, we're here.
Fucking like elementary school.
What was high school?
Like shaking down an 8-year-old.
Yeah, well, it would have been like 17 or 18-year-old. It's right there in that room in the library. And then they punched the kid that took it because they're like, this doesn't even look real.
Guantanamo Bay. That's where that kid is. That's where that kid's been for the last 15 years.
I mean, to be fair, Brian kind of deserved it. He was a jerk face.
Fuck him. Fuck that kid.
Yeah. But yeah, I never have cash on me either. My father-in-law, I think, does. My grandpa always had a ton of cash on him. But that was back in the day, too. Like now, not so much.
But yeah, before the assassination of President Lincoln, Secret Service worked on counterfeiting cases. And it wasn't until Lincoln got shot, I think it was Lincoln.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It was after Lincoln got shot that the agents of the Treasury Department assumed protection duties for the president as well. But now everybody knows them for that job, but that's the other function of the Secret Service. Maybe
that was the long con. They're like, people are starting to realize that we can get them for counterfeiting and we take that money and we spend it. So we're going to say we protect the president too, and people forget about that.
Well, I mean, Alexander Hamilton's the one that started the Treasury, so why didn't we see that in the musical, huh?
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't?
No. I haven't finished Stranger Things or Obi-Wan. I always end up stopping mid-sentence when I'm like, you need to what? Never mind. Yeah. Maybe someday. I've got problems. I've got to keep you entertained. I got to keep a 6-year-old entertained. I got to work. I got to try to play Destiny. You're like, why haven't you maxed out your Destiny character yet? I'm like, well, because I'm trying to watch Hamilton. You're like, do both. I'm like, but then I can't watch them both and do. It's a full-time job to do all the things you need me to do.
I'll tell you what. You know what you could do? Let's just get on and then we'll play and then I'll sing you the songs.
I'd go for that.
Yeah.
You have a pretty enough voice. Because, I mean, when we're in Destiny and I'm taking like an hour to jump up something, I mean, then I could definitely get it.
Stop it.
It's like, all right, Shawn, jump here. All right, for the first song in the first half of the movie, do, or play. Do. Oh, Shawn fell. Let's go to Act 2.
I don't even have to watch. All I hear is, all right, I'm like, all right, Shawn, just jump up here. Okay. God damn it.
And your son's like, did he fall again? Yeah, he fell again. Let's just go up here. He'll catch up sooner or later. God damn it. Oh, fell again.
Bless it.
But you know where I would fall really, really slow? Mars.
Ooh. See, you cut it off there, and that's where you start the show. What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we are speaking the language of romance.
Oh, Richard. This is an article I found a long time ago. The article is from 2016, and it's been on our list to talk about for a while. And it's kind of just a back-to-back episodes, Richard, for National Geographic. I've got 2 free articles left this month. We could just keep going on here.
So Shawn had a dentist appointment, and he was stuck in the waiting room for like 3 hours. And while he's there, he's like, I'll just come up with show ideas. What's this? National Geographic?
Ooh, this guy got bit by a shark and a bear.
Yeah, don't leave Shawn in the dentist's office with a notepad. Because then we'll end up with it's like Shark Week on Language of Bromance.
It's shark season on Language of Bromance. Man, it's been a while. Sidebar talking about that. I gotta go back to the dentist for the first time in like a long time in September. I am not excited for it. Like they're gonna be like, you got gingivitis. We gotta pull this tooth. You got herpes. It's gonna be all kinds of crazy stuff, and I'm not ready for it.
The herpes caused the gingivitis.
Yep, probably. It's like, how often do you brush your teeth? I'm like, well, at least once a day. Oh.
Do you guys shower? mean, sometimes.
Like, isn't it like that's the one thing too? Like, I feel super judged. Like when you go to the dentist and like they're like clean your teeth and like your gums bleed a little bit. And it's like, that happens because you don't brush your teeth enough and you don't floss, right? You're like, yeah, you should do that more. Yeah.
I feel that way about the entire medical profession.
They just shame you into. They should.
Like, the doctor, and
He's like, you're one ugly bastard. You're like, I know, right?
Well, it's usually like you're fat. You're fat.
Yeah, could lose some weight, but you've quit smoking, right? You've quit smoking.
I'm still working on it. It's rough. I will. Okay, so I went cold turkey, like no patches, no gum, nothing. Went completely fine. I was completely fine for about like 2.5 weeks, and then just backslid hard.
Yeah.
So.
And I was like, Richard, we should do a show. You're like, oh God.
So I think the next time, I'm gonna give it another go. But I think when I do, I think I'm gonna supplement. I think we're gonna try. I think we're gonna do patches, because I think it was kind of weird that I felt like there was no physical like effects. Like I didn't feel physically, I felt like any craving I had was more like in my head, but I think that I was misreading it as an actual physical want.
I gotcha. Well, I mean, like we said during our New Year's resolution ones, like I was going to quit energy drinks and stuff, and I did for about 2 months, and it's just the same thing. You kind of have one week, then it turns into 2, then 3, then daily. So I get it. It's not easy.
So I think when I do it again, I think when I go again, I'm gonna go with patches. I think we're gonna start there.
Should we do so? Like when you start that, should we do like support for each other? Like I'll try to quit soda and energy drinks, and when I feel like I need one, I'll just call you. And same thing, when you need a cigarette, you call me.
Maybe, but then we'll just be on the phone all the time.
Yeah, you could have another soda, you fat fuck. Are you gonna have another cancer stick, asshole? I don't know. You gonna have a soda, fat ass? I have two. Go, 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 go. Yeah. We'll start tomorrow.
In the meantime,
maybe
what's
Richard.
Going on? What you doing?
Well, maybe Richard, if we go to Mars and we don't have those things, maybe we can make it. But this article from National Geographic is talking about, and I found it kind of interesting, so I'm curious what they kind of talk about in here, but it said that going to Mars could mess up the hunt for alien life.
Uh-oh.
So this article was from September 25th, 2016. So 20 years ago from this date, so 2016, America celebrated its Independence Day by landing several thousand invaders on the surface of Mars. Dun, dun, dun.
Several
July
thousand.
4th,
wait a minute. Where are they landing? Several thousand what?
Said invaders. I don't know what that means, so we'll have to read on. On July 4th, 1997, the Pathfinder spacecraft touched down in a northern lowland called Circe Planitia, carrying a small rover named...
Do you find it weird that we have already named areas on Mars? Don't we need to show up before we start naming shit?
No, I mean...
don't we need to stick a flag in something before we can call it a name?
I mean, you kind of have to have that, so it probably helps communications between places and countries. Because if Russia calls it one thing and we call it another, and then we're like, oh, we need a joint effort to go here, and we calculate it, but our here is there, and it's all mixed up.
I mean, how often does joint efforts in space happen, though? I mean, I would say more often. I think than a lot other now. Stuff. But I mean, I guess I'm talking about more joint effort, a joint effort to go to Mars.
I don't know. So I've thought about this because there's a TV show on Apple Plus called For All Mankind. I've watched the first 6 episodes, I think, And the premise of it is basically kind of a what if scenario of like, what if Russia beat us to the moon? So the US didn't make it, it was Russia first. And so like it kind of goes on this whole like, well, if all this stuff happened, then like it's probably a little unrealistic because they essentially like jump 10 years and like we've got bases on the moon, and then like they jump like 20 years and we're on Mars, and like they kind of made it sound like the space race never ended, which I don't know how realistic that
it
is.
seemed like once one of us went to the moon, then like both sides are just like, okay, well we won, so.
Well, I mean, it was so freaking expensive, and like I think the last moon landing was the last time like humans have actually been in like space. Like everything else is kind of like high orbit, but we've never been like into what's considered outer space since then, which is crazy to think about, right? So I've been like 75. So for almost what? So in my lifetime, nobody has been outside of
the soul. Oh, outside.
No one has been in outer space.
What is the? Isn't there a name for all the like garbage that we have in space now?
Probably space trash.
Yeah, because we're basically like encased in a shell of garbage at this point.
But is that just in our orbit? Like that's not like in what's considered outer space.
Yes, it's all in our orbit, but it's all just like
so
trash,
at some point
like old satellites.
Oh, but it's trapped because it can't like get pulled into our orbit or whatever to like burn up and get destroyed.
There's actually a fear that we'll put so much like garbage in Earth's orbit that we won't actually be able to leave.
I've heard some of that. I bet they'd come up with a way to somehow catch that and bring it back.
There's a
like a
net.
a net or like some big sweeper just goes up there and starts sweeping all that stuff.
Boom, 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 boom.
Let's see. So they had stowaways on these in forms of earthly microbes. So the question is, did any of these microbes survive and reproduce, establishing themselves as Earth's first colonist on a distant world?
That's an interesting question. Yeah. Because
so
like,
highly
somebody rubs their hand on the Pathfinder module, and then you've got Mars monsters that were amoebas.
Yeah, and they grow like some bacteria gets on that and it lands and like falls into something that just grows. And like since this is 97, so it's almost 30 years ago, like it's grown into this big monster. And like it considers that dude that did it its papa. It keeps looking up at the earth going, "Papa." Duh, babies. So NASA assured us at the time nothing that scientists believe it would be difficult to sustain and cultivate life on Mars. That remains true today. In the years since Pathfinder, scientists have cataloged more than a dozen factors from radiation to soil toxins that make the red planet a death trap for most terrestrial organisms. So they're like, yeah, not possible.
Anything that goes there dies. Well, don't we want to go there? Well, yeah.
One-way trip to Mars. Are you going?
Ooh.
I mean, that's what... Actually, honestly, I heard an interesting... it's more of a recent discussion, but the talk is that, so, with the technology we have today, it's a 6-month journey to Mars when it's at its closest. And I think it takes like another 12 months for it to get to that spot where you can do another 6 months back.
Uh-huh.
So it's really if we could get there, get whatever we needed to get back, it would be a full 2-year journey. But I don't know if we have the technology yet to get off the planet once we get there.
No, we do.
So realistically,
we do. We can do it. It's like high school chemistry. I don't remember, but like it has to deal with like mineral deposits that are on Mars allow us to you could synthesize rocket fuel once you reached Mars. So essentially like you'd build a gas station once you got there to fill up and get back.
Would you I mean it's not proven. Would you take that risk? So let's go back to the first question. A one-way trip to Mars because we're not sure that'll
Shawn,
work.
I'm an idiot. I don't know. I got a C, like a barely a gentleman's C in chemistry. I
like the idea.
I don't need to be anywhere near space.
I like the idea if like they bring you on and you're getting strapped in, getting ready to take off. You're like, oh, thank God when we get there, we know how to make gas and come back. And they're like, this is a one-way trip. A one-way. Yeah, I don't know. Because they talk about you're in a small capsule for 6 months.
Can I be like Matt Damon? If I was like Matt Damon, I might be into it.
Ooh, make some potatoes.
Yeah. With my poo.
Yeah. He got skinny too. And then I don't really know if the whole like him getting shot into space was realistic, but it worked, right?
Yeah.
I need to
hanging
read the book.
out and
that's supposed to be
hanging out and listening
to
ABBA.
Yeah, it's true. That would be I mean, like you think about like if you were the only person on Mars and you still could communicate and like you were just slowly wasting away, like how like isolated, like I'm a little claustrophobic and that makes me feel extremely claustrophobic.
I think it would be, I'm not claustrophobic, but I do like the thought of like just being like, you know, because obviously like everything's built for efficiency rather than like everything's built for efficiency and function rather, you know, over, I don't want to say aesthetics, but you know, I think that in the current living conditions of space as it stands right now, I think that people are not meant to be in space for an extended period of time.
Yeah, that's what
given the fact that everything is very like small and tight. Like it's fine for like sleepaway camp, but you don't want to like live in that for like an undetermined amount of time, I think.
And the thing I was listening to talked about like radiation, like all the materials and stuff we have, it's not like precise. Like you're still getting radiation exposure, even with the best suits and the best space stuff.
Because you know, so you're still like once you're past the atmosphere, like you have zero protection from a giant burning fusion ball. Like
so
you're
even
millions
like
of miles from it, but it's still just like
So like the 6 months you're in space, like how much is that going to mess you up in the year on Mars? Like, could you even survive that? Like, I don't even know if we know if humans could survive, let alone like actually get there and back successfully.
It's like living next to a nuclear reactor and then they always leave the doors open.
They dump the waste into your like pool.
You know, it's not like, is it direct? I mean, it can be occasionally, but it's just this steady, never-ending stream. But yeah, radiation. I don't know, man. Like the whole endeavor just sounds like way more stressful than I think I would be comfortable coping with.
Yeah. I know years ago you were like,
everything goes wrong and then everything explodes.
Oh yeah. I mean, I know they have a lot of backups in that stuff, like secondary stuff to kind of fail over to, but still, yeah. Like you can only have so many of those, and it's not like the trip to the moon was what, 15 days, maybe 16 days. So like there's a lot less room for air. Like Apollo 13, like if that was, you know, the first trip to Mars and they got to that point and like something happens, like well,
let's start planning the second trip.
So I know like back in the day you were like really like gung-ho.
Hello?
New phone, who dis? Oh, damn it. So I know you were like big, like gung-ho, like for Mars, like years ago. Are you still kind of in that mindset, or are you kind of over it?
I still think we should go. Like we need to go. It's it's obvious we should go. I should not go. Someone else should, not me.
It's just interesting that I don't know if I'm guessing we will in our.
It's next on the list of things that we go to.
Yeah, but it's been the next thing for 40, 50 years at this point.
Yeah, because we've lost because we've 100% like we're not like we went to the moon because we we did because we wanted to go to the moon first.
Yeah. It was a big flex, a big kind of like, it brought the country together.
Yeah.
Like during that time was like, oof.
There's no want there. And the thing, well, it's not that there's not a want. There's definitely a want. Like, I think that if somebody was like, we're going to go to Mars, I'm saying it right here and now. We're getting everybody on a boat and we're fucking sailing to Mars on a cerulean sky. We are sailing to Mars, you know? I think that if somebody like if a leader actually had the balls to say that, I think I think people would rally behind that. I do.
Yeah.
But the thing is that there would be one guy that would be like, well, that's dumb. We're gonna waste our money on wasting my taxpayers' dollars on Mars. Like that's what would happen, and then
that's what happened with the moon.
And then somebody like whoever the person that said it, like they can't handle the criticism of the one fucking guy, and so it never gets said.
Yeah, well, I don't even know like how close we are technologically in being able to even do it. Because like this article is from 2016 and it was, the first thing it's talking about is like, because Elon Musk at this point was like all gung ho about getting there and he's got his rockets and stuff that are, I don't know if they've gone even out of orbit or not. Like it was like 16 to like 18 or 19, like all those were like super heavy into like, we're getting to Mars.
Yeah,
and it's kind of been radio silent since. And is that because of cost, or is it because technology is just not there?
I'm gonna say cost. I think it's not really so much that there's it's not the cost. Well, it's the fact that there's like it's risk with very little to no reward.
Yeah, you're not gonna get wealthier, or you're not gonna gain anything out of getting there besides the notoriety of being the first person to get there.
Exactly. And then you realize that you can't use that to, buy coffee. And so you're gun shy about it. But I do. I think that if somebody actually was like, we're going to fucking Mars. We're doing it. We're going to put I am directing like a dump truck full of money and we're going to Mars. I think that more people would be behind it than not behind it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Cause like the whole moon stuff, like because they were having troubles early on, it took like 9 years for it to actually happen. There's a lot of people who are like, man, you guys are spending tons of money that could be used here. And I'd imagine like what it costs to get to the moon but compared to get to Mars is probably way more. I don't know. It's interesting to think like, like when you think of human like travel, at some point there was somebody probably saying it's like, we got to cross that ocean. It's like, I mean, that's like, come on, like that's dangerous and expensive.
Out there, are you insane?
Yeah. And, at some point that just became common. Like people were just going back and forth all the time.
And then you'll get to what? The edge and just sail the fuck off. Why the hell? Well, why would anyone want to do that?
Yeah. Just stay here. It's safe. Hey, what's that on your face?
And they say that now in 2020. They're like, don't. You'll sail off the edge.
Yeah. I would imagine that probably going to Mars is more dangerous than crossing the ocean though. But I don't know. I wouldn't do either.
Yeah.
There's monsters in both places. Let's see. So this was talking. So on September 27th, SpaceX CEO Elon Musk will unveil his plans for sending humans to Mars at a global space conference being held in Mexico. So I think he talked about that, but nothing, like I said, that's been 6 years ago at this point. I think he had like a whole...
I'm going to buy Twitter. You have to believe me.
Damn, he should have bought Twitter back then. Could have been way cheaper.
He was the one that... I don't want to do this. He's the one that set the fucking price. He's like, I'm going to buy Twitter for this much. And Twitter's like, okay. And he's like, wait, what'd I say?
Well, yeah, it's probably not a conversation for here, but if it works out the way he's doing it, he's pretty freaking smart what he's doing.
I'm going to respectfully disagree, but
we'll have a little conversation afterwards, because you'll either be like, that's pretty smart, or you'll be like, that son of a bitch. Anyway, I know this was back when you were pro Elon too, so I didn't want to bring his name up too much.
I very much turned around on that.
Let's see. For the past 10 years at NASA, so they're talking about one of these head leaders here, Conley has had the difficult, sometimes unprecedented, why'd you move? Damn it. Unprecedented job of keeping Mars clean. She is the head of the Office of Planetary Protection, which is tasked with preventing alien organisms from getting loose in Earth's ecosystem, as well as keeping humans from inadvertently seeding other planets with terrestrial life. Richard, there is a position in NASA that's job is to make sure that whatever we bring back from space doesn't have any icky things that get into our world, and to ensure that our icky things don't get on other planets.
So you're like a planetary germ mommy.
You're kind of like a customs agent for space germs.
Yeah.
And it's a job it's like you can't really fail at, right? It's like, hey, did anything come in on that rock that we brought back? Nope, all good.
And also, in the event you do like fuck up at your job, like we're all dead. Like everybody's dead.
Yeah.
So nobody's gonna be like, and you're fired.
Oopsies, my bad. So, of course, scientists have been worried about planetary protection since the very beginning of space age. With the launch of Sputnik in 1957, it seemed only a matter of time before the United States and Soviet Union would begin sending spacecrafts to the moon, Venus, and Mars. So I know, like, when all the original astronauts in the first moon landing came back, like, they were isolated for like 2 or 3 weeks just to make sure they didn't turn into zombies or some kind of crazy, like, moon monsters. What if they did? Like, that's the what if I want to see.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Come back. It's like, oh God. I must eat humans.
If that actually happened, you know what would happen? We wouldn't have said a word about it, and we would have let Russia do it.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead. It's fine.
Well, no, because then if we knew how to get rid of it, it's like, what are they most scared of? Fire. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Ruskies. Go ahead.
They just spend those 2 weeks figuring out what the weakness is.
Yeah, there you go.
Balls, throw rubber balls at them.
They're like dogs. They'll chase it and bring it back. Some researchers immediately saw this as an unprecedented opportunity to find and study organisms that have evolved under completely different circumstances, possibly revealing alternative models of life that we would never be able to find on Earth. But those same scientists also worried that biological contamination could ruin this endeavor. So I think the whole idea by a lot of this is that, like, by sending stuff to the Mars, or us even going there, we could inadvertently kind of cause, like, us to not be able to see what's actually there. Like, we contaminate the whole planet kind of thing.
Oh, I see. It's the, fuck. There's a term for that, and I can't think of right now.
I think isn't that like what we talked about, the Jane Goodall thing? Like, is it that they were violent chimpanzees, or is it because she was there that caused the violence?
Oh, yeah, something like that.
What was I going to say? I had a thought and I lost it.
By observing, like, our observation is the very thing that our observation of an experiment is what contaminates the results of the experiment.
Oh, yeah, I gotcha. That makes sense.
So just by being on Mars, we possibly contaminate any chance to like see what is on Mars.
Mm-hmm. I get that. God, it's crazy to think about.
Just
think about
like an unruly uncle that shows up at a family gathering and just fucks everything up. Like, he shows up, he's not drunk, but he's got a decent buzz going, and he makes a pass at your wife. And
I was talking about politics.
Yeah.
If I had a nickel.
How many cents would you have? Enough to buy a banana.
Yep. Yep, exactly. So I got that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Technically, I'm an uncle, so it'd be me. So yeah, I'd have enough for a banana in Texas. Advocates for planetary protection can cite ample historical evidence to justify these fears. In the 14th century, ships from Asia carrying flea-infested rats brought the Black Death to Europe. Years later, European explorers introduced more than 24 diseases to the Americas that devastated indigenous populations. In more recent decades, invasive species have demonstrated how even a single type of plant or animal can wreak havoc on an entire ecosystem. I mean, shit, you look at like the boa constrictors in Florida right now, what they're doing.
You know, do you just get the impression that sometimes that like people are just like just as a species, we're just not great?
I don't know. Like I like to think, I don't know. Like you'd hate to say like what's the alternative if we didn't like, I say if human species stayed in a specific location, like all the things that we've been able to create and evolve like have been good. You know, they're for all the good that we've done, there's bad that humans have done too.
Oh no, I get what you're saying. No, I totally get the like, well, what's the alternative argument? I guess I'm just saying that like when it comes to like you were talking about like boa constrictors or you know the syphilis blankets that we brought Native Americans or you know like stuff like that. Isn't it just like you like it's almost like you get the impression of like you just kind of like put your head in your hand and you're like, oh, like you feel kind of embarrassed about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, sort of.
I mean, not
like,
you personally, but
I mean, it's not perfect. I guess I always go back to like you look at like the animal kingdom, and like a bear will find another male bear or a female bear and kill all of her cubs because it's in its territory and he wants to basically impregnate her with his genes. Like, it's not like, I mean, yeah, there are humans that are awful like that, but like a majority of humans aren't going around and breaking into people's homes and killing people's kids and being like, no, you have my spawn.
Says you.
Whoa. Wait, what?
Wait.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you start, like, space and stuff always gets me on this kind of.
I mean,
like,
I'm not trying to Debbie Downer it. Like, it's, you know, because I mean, end of the day, obviously, like it's not as much of a black pill as, you know, as I'm insinuating. It's just sometimes there's moments where you're just like, man, can we just not be
for sure
be terrible? It's like you watch an episode of Black Mirror and you're like, yeah, that's what would happen. And that makes me sad.
Yeah, you wonder, because I always try to think like, you know, like I brought the animal kingdom example, like the bear thing. And like you look at lions and they're going around and killing things, you know, like animals are like vicious things. Like the animal kingdom is not a happy-go-lucky place. Like, you know, the lion isn't helping out the local lion that's not his spawn.
He's not
like,
going
no,
to the
fuck
Lion Rotary Club.
No, they're not taking donations of, you know, antelope to take to the, you know, the other lions that are down on their luck. They're going and killing those lions. And then, so it just makes you wonder, it's like, well, you know, because then it's like, well, now you're comparing humans to animals. And some people do, some people don't. But, you know, thinking about like this, it's like, well, are humans here for some kind of like bigger purpose? Or are we just here kind of surviving and we just kind of lucked out in terms of, you know, the genetic, you know,
lottery
makeup to be a little bit, to be just better enough than other things to be able to create, you know, spaceships and all this other stuff and take ourselves off the gold standard because for some reason humans thought gold was the way to go.
I didn't realize that we were going to get all existential, but here we are.
Space makes me do that. Like if you go outside, like you get really stuck in your own like contained,
like the telescope pictures.
Yeah.
Like you look at those and you're just like,
is.
holy shit, man.
Yeah. Well, because I think as we all get kind of confined into our own little like bubble and it's just big enough for us to feel like it's big. But then, yeah, like you look outside and see space and just how massive it is. And you're just like, wow, like I am super insignificant.
Here's a picture of, 80,000 like galaxies. Not planets, galaxies.
Well, and even with that, like we're just like a year and a half away from them being like, oh yeah, we've totally had UFOs around here. So like, what? Like, yeah, we don't know what they are.
Fantastic.
Nobody's talked about it. It dropped all that information. Everybody's like, huh, cool. So there are spaceships. Where's the lizard people? And Mark Zuckerberg's like, oh. He's a lizard person, Richard. I don't know if you know this, but he is totally a lizard person.
I mean, I always thought robot, but I mean, that makes sense too.
Let's see. So the United States and the Soviet Union are engaged in a program of space exploration, regardless of whether we biologists like it or not. Oh, so back on this, like what you're talking about, there is some good in humans because like we've created a position that is making sure that we're not trashing Mars or other planets, and
that is nice.
Stuff to get back into Mars.
That does make me feel better about humanity as a whole.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much like they actually do, but at least they're trying to like make an attempt at it. So that little quote I said was from Wolf Vishkinus, wrote in a 1964 editorial published in Science magazine. If we ever wish to derive any biological significant information from landings on other planets, then we must plan for it now while it is still possible to include the necessary biological safeguards. So there's an Outer Space Treaty of 1967, which had been signed and ratified by all spacefaring nations. This required the countries to avoid harmful contamination of the moon and other celestial bodies.
Okay.
I was like, don't leave your shit hanging around.
So is it like the, like the Pathfinder rovers like tooling around Mars, and then, like it, like one of the rocks like falls off the top of it, and then there's that lady and she's looking down at it, and then a tear rolls down her cheek. Yeah. It's like that.
She like sends a message to the robot, and it goes back and picks it up, and then it uses like hand sanitizer to clean its hands, clean its robot hands. So this next part is just titled Staying Alive. So assuming some microbes survived this assault and made it to Mars, that assault's kind of aggressive, but I get it. And made it to Mars, special region, what kinds of germs would we be letting loose on the red planet? So Mars is a hostile place for life as we know it. Scientists have identified 17 biocidal factors on the planet that would kill most known microbes or at least render them dormant. For instance, given the thin atmosphere and lack of global magnetic field, sunlight is one of the most deadly forces on the planet.
Yeah. Because it's a giant fusion ball burning in the middle of the solar system.
Yeah, there's no atmosphere to like filter that out and be like, here's the good stuff, get your vitamin D.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You go to space, you get all the vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
And then some.
So the sun's punishing ultraviolet radiation would destroy most of the microbes on the surface of a lander or rover within a few hours. Even those on the underbelly of the rover, shaded from direct sunlight, would gradually die over the next 50 to 100 days, exposed to UV reflecting off the planet's surface. But, Richard, not all microbes would be doomed. A small number of them could survive solar blasting under the right conditions, says Andrew Schroeder, a University of Florida astrobiologist who sits next to the Kennedy Space Center.
I wonder what you do as an astrobiologist. Because it's not like there's space plants. I assume there are space plants, but
oh god, like you get in a fight with your wife when you're going to work, and she's like, "Good luck dissecting that stupid alien plant that doesn't exist."
Oh wait, I can drink, no Linda. Alien plant.
Why don't you just drink your Earth margarita, Linda?
And then he goes, and then see that's the guy that's who you send to Mars, because then they can make space plants.
True. And he's like, man, I don't want to come back.
Fucking Glenda's there. I hate her.
So, that's the other thing you think about, like on those trips, like if it's 4 to 6 people, you have zero privacy.
Oh, yes. Also, how do you, I wouldn't think that you shower. So like, what do you do?
They probably have like cleaning, like toiletry type things. So some kind of reusable stuff that they could dip like a towel in, or some kind of like paper, and that would be how you'd clean. Do you think it, like, I know they'd probably want to mix it up, but do you think it would just be like an all male or all female? Because like think about it, like if it was half and half, I mean it'd be like The Bachelor.
I guarantee I can almost guarantee that has happened. What you're leading up to,
Sex in Space
has to have happened. Has to.
I think that's one of the rules, and they're under certain, like, they're on like surveillance all the time. But like if you're up there,
you want, I mean, especially, like, who doesn't want to be like the first one?
Well, like, and if you're a dude up there, well, that's happened. Like a dude by himself in his little floaty cot, yeah, that's totally happened. But like an actual, like,
it's happened.
It's docking.
I don't even care. It's happened. It's happened, and nobody said anything. Either it's happened and everybody's keeping quiet about it, or it's happened and the people that are that actually did it haven't told anybody. But nobody is passing that. If you were given the opportunity, nobody is passing that up.
But if you're going to like this space, very public, like is your wife going to be like, oh yeah, totally, you can go with that doctor scientist lady, and be on a spaceship close for 6 months, and then on Mars
they're
going to
get back and they're going to be like, I was the first woman to have sex in space.
And like she's going to be like, with who?
Look,
like,
I love you,
all three men.
I love you. You're a great person. You're a good husband. You're a great provider. But I was given the chance to be the first woman to have sex in space. And I'm sorry, I'm not passing that up. As the husband, you have to be like, okay, fair.
Well, I mean, like, think about it. Like, if you're the dude that goes and like, you're like, no, like, you're like, it's like desperate times. And you're like, no, I'm married. Like, I can't do it. And like, you man up with it. And you're like, you don't do anything. So you go all the way to Mars, spend a year on Mars, all the way back, and you're like legit, like, faithful. And you show up and your wife's like, oh yeah, like I totally cheated on you because I assumed you did. You're like, what?
I had somebody living in the house for 18 months.
Yeah. We've been divorced for 12 months. I've only been gone for 24. This is new dad. This is space dad. He's never around.
Are you space dad?
And the problem is, since you've been in zero gravity for so long, like your bone density's down, so you can't even punch the guy, because if you did, you'd break your arm.
Yeah, you just crunch like a bag of Cocoa Pebbles.
Yeah. Seeing if anything else is interesting in this. I mean, that's kind of the gist of it, is like, will we get to Mars and will we mess it up?
I think obviously we're gonna be there eventually. I guess it's more a question of when is somebody gonna be like, we gotta do this? Like, this is something that we have to do.
Well, I know they've announced that, like, what is it, like by 25 or 28?
It's all these half-hearted announcements and these like half-hearted measures of like, oh, we're totally gonna do it, we swear, but we're gonna put a little bit of money into doing it, but not enough so that you might possibly get mad.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, it seems like now the entire purpose of NASA is just basically like, don't fuck up, which is a terrible place to operate from. I feel like you're not given the tools and you're not given the tools and the resources to do anything more than you can. And it's just basically like, hey, like, keep doing the bare minimum, but don't fuck up, because the second you do, then you're going to have even less.
Yeah. No, yeah. Because if we send somebody up and start getting like some kind of test to get back to the moon and somebody like dies, because that happened in the first run of the moon stuff, like when that capsule got locked and those 3 guys were burned alive, like people were like, this is too dangerous, we have to stop.
Yeah.
And they were probably lucky that they kept going. But probably what will trigger all of us to get going again is like if China or like some other country ends up getting people back on the moon. I think you might see a resurgence at that point.
I agree.
Where it's like, how could we let this happen? Who knows? I mean, that's what's crazy to think about, Richard. Like in our lifetime,
our entire like basis for wanting to be explorers and, you know, sail the solar ways of the universe, that basically it all boils down to like a dick measuring contest with another country.
I mean, to be fair, like probably getting across the ocean was a dick measuring contest too.
Probably.
It's all comes down to the size of your wang.
Yep.
But, well, on that note, Richard, what are some Richard's closing thoughts as we tidy up this episode?
We endeavor to go to Mars, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. That is me. That wasn't.
You didn't do it. You needed to do it in more of a Boston accent.
I was trying to. Yeah, I was like, should I go Kennedy? I was like, no, because Kennedy was talking about the moon, so that's why I put myself in. Then that's it. That's all I got. We endeavor to go to Mars, and we should.
Yeah. Well, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website, we're languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languagebro. Email us at bros@languageofbromance.com. And if you want to take Blast to the moon, just like our two patrons, Wendy and Aaron, go to our Patreon and join up.
We would love to go with you to Mars, unless you don't want to, in which case we don't want to.
Richard will go to Mars with you. I, on the other hand, would not. All right. Was there anything before I close her out?
No, I'm good, sir.
All right. Well, that's all the bromance for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
Remember, don't B-O-Y.
B-O-Y.
B-O-Y not.
We endeavor to go to Mars, not because it is easy, but because it's hard.
That's pretty good.
Thanks. I had to think about it.